Hi everyone, Sherry here. I'm making a birthday card today for my great-grandson, and I'm using the Cooler with You stamp set for my favorite things. I also have the matching dies, so I'm going to place everything in the MISTI, lay the stamps in the die, pick up the stamps, remove the die. I'm using some Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink because I'm going to be Copic coloring these little images today. And since I'm using my MISTI, if I did not get a good crisp image, this allows me to stamp it again, and it's going to stamp perfectly. So now for the test. Going to bring out my Big Shot, and using my magnetic plate, I'm going to place down the images and the die. I'm going to line it up as best I can, and then we will crank it on through. And remove the die, and we'll see how well I did. Awesome. So while I have my Big Shot out, I decided to use the Lawn Fawn Ocean Wave borders, and I'm cutting out some distress watercolor paper, and I'm going to be inking those up. So I also have another full sheet, 4¼ by 5½ piece of distress watercolor paper that is going to be the base of my panel that I'm making here. And I'm using some tumbled glass and broken china distress inks to cover the upper portion. I'm creating my sky, if you will. So I'm using the tumbled glass first, and then I will use the broken china up near the top since it is a little bit darker. I wanted to keep the sky portion of this panel fairly light because I knew that I was going to come back in and do the waves quite a bit darker. And I just did not want the card to be overwhelmed by so much blue. So I'm going to finish putting on the broken china here, and then I'll come back in with a small amount of tumbled glass and just smooth those two areas out. So for the wave that's going to be the furthest away, I wanted to make it darker. So I'm using some Blueprint Sketch. And this ink has really got a lot of red in it, so it looks quite purple here. So I'm going to bring in some Mermaid Lagoon and see if I can bring a little bit more of some green into the color here. And then of course I went back over it with Blueprint Sketch and canceled out what I did with the Mermaid Lagoon. So I'll go back over it one more time. And now I'm going to do the center section with the Mermaid Lagoon, and I'm not worried about the bottom portion because that's going to be covered up by the wave that's going to be in the front. And I did the same thing on the wave that is behind this one. So last wave here, I'm using some Salty Ocean, and since this is going to be seen clearly in front of the other two, I'm going to go ahead and cover this entire wave with the Salty Ocean. Finish that up. And then I'm going to come back to my panel, use my Disperse sprayer and spray on a little bit of water and then pick that up with my paper towel. I decided to also do the same thing with the waves, just did not record it. And so now I'm going to color my bear, just using some Cool Gray 1, Cool Gray 0, and my colorless blender. And also, while I was off camera, I cut out 2 extra fish. You see those in the top of the screen there. And I'm just going to blend out this gray here with my colorless blender. He is a white bear, obviously, but needs a little bit of color and definition. So I'll do the same thing up here with his head and his ears. Lay down my C1 and come in with my C0. And then blend that out with my colorless blender. I forgot his tail there. So now I'm coming in with the R00, put a little blush on his cheek and the inner ear. And then I'm using the C7 to give him a little black nose. So the way I did the fish was I used the E93 as my darkest color. I'm pretending these are salmon, and I know that their skin really isn't this color, but my fish can be. And I'm blending that out with the R00. And then I used the Y08, Y11, and Y00 to give his scarf a little bit of color. So I'm going to lay down my darkest first, and then blend that out with the mid color, and then use the Y00. Finish that up. And then I'm going to give the little block of ice just a little bit of color with the B000. And again, I'm going to use the colorless blender to kind of blend that out some. I wanted to use the blue for the ice here instead of a gray, just to kind of reflect the color of the waves through the block of ice. And now I'm going to stamp my greeting, and I'm going to be stamping I hope your birthday is off the hook. And I'm going to stamp half of it up top. And yes, I have astigmatism. I say this in all my videos. And even with the Misty, I stamp crooked. So I hope a 6-year-old does not mind a crooked sentiment. So I'm going to use a post-it note to block off the first half of the sentiment. And then I will stamp the is off the hook on my front wave. And then I'm going to use a black marker and just add a little exclamation point and some dots. And now to put it all together, I'm going to put down my furthest wave, and I'm just going to stack these with just some tape runner. And figure out where I'm going to position all of my little fish and my bear. And then I will commit using a little bit of Tombow just to put those down. And then I'm going to pop up the bear with some foam tape. And I also used a little bit of E33 to color in his fishing pole. I forgot to do that while I was doing the coloring. And then I also decided I would go ahead and add the little bird. And then on the inside, I'm using Stamp Set by Simon Says Stamp. That says, the name of It's No Secret. And I'm stamping the large happy birthday. And now I'm going to take my panel and put it on a top folding A2 card. And that's going to be my card for the day. Thanks again for joining. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and I will see you again soon. Bye now.